cartoons and toys have had a symbiotic relationship throughout history. As early as the 1920s, companies began capitalizing on the growing popularity of animated releases by distributing merchandise featuring the starring characters' likenesses, and no product since has ever been in more demand than children's toys. But it wasn't until the 1980s when an innovative tactic started gaining traction within the field. Rather than wait to see which cartoons garnered a large enough audience to justify developing a toy line around them, companies would instead take a toyetic approach, building their own lines of merchandise first, then producing animated projects to promote the toys, the inverse of the long-standing traditional model. In many cases, the strategy worked, and some projects connected with the viewers in such a way, the cartoons became respectable franchises in their own right, able to stand independently of the products they were created to advertise. For every one of these successes, there were dozens which failed to catch on. A major contributor to this being their perceived low quality. These cartoons were often made on minimal budgets, resulting in awkward, low-quality animation paired with scripts focused more on sheer output at the expense of quality writing, feeling like extended commercials instead of genuine creative pursuits. This practice is still in use today, leading people to fairly become wary when new media based on a toy line is announced, and unless they're already fans of the toys, they'll need to be convinced it's more than just an afterthought before giving it a chance. That's why, when I heard there was a ZhuZhus cartoon titled The ZhuZhus, based on ZhuZhu pets, the admittedly adorable motorized hamster toys, I was stunned. They came out in 2009, and while they were reasonably well liked, it wasn't to the level where people were clamoring for a television series, especially in 2016, 7 years after the toy's original release. I couldn't rack my brain around what stories could possibly be engaging enough to carry an episode, let alone the 26 that aired on television. And though Stranger Subjects have had shows made of them, I still couldn't see any world where a show about the ZhuZhus was anything but creatively bankrupt, and it seemed bound to enter the conversation as one of the most soulless cash grabs ever. But what if I told you that I was wrong about the ZhuZhus, that it was full of laughs and heart, and not only one of the best cartoons based on a toy, but is now one of my favorite cartoons ever? Now I realize that's a pretty lofty build-up for a show made with the purpose of promoting mechanical hamsters. And I know I probably sound ridiculous with that opinion, but I've never been happier to have my preconceptions about what a show could be completely shattered. So allow me to present why you should stop spinning in your wheel and watch one of the funniest, heartwarming, well-written shows I've had the pleasure to experience. This is the ZhuZhus. Of every theme song I've ever heard, the ZhuZhus may be the most manufactured. Every note, every lyric, everything about it feels like it's been designed by a team to be as appealing as possible. It has the bounciest music and the crispest singing voice with crystal clear pronunciation and just the friendliest lyrics.
They can talk, dance and sing, they can do about anything.
In fact, it sounds exactly like a commercial. You could play it over footage from existing ZhuZhu Pets toy commercials, and this would work better.
Who knows what'll happen next? Living with the ZhuZhus, Frankie and the ZhuZhu Pets.
And speaking of things working, this song is so memorable. Its catchiness is what made me more open to giving the show a fair chance in the first place. You can't hear it and not be put in a good mood. The bright colors which feel specifically selected to appeal to the eyes, the unbridled cuteness of each of the hamsters and their human owner Frankie, they all look so sugary sweet while being goofy and then hugging each other. This level of happiness is clearly unnatural, but like a good advertisement, this makes me want it even more. The song also gives us our introduction to the main cast of 5, beginning with the 4 hamsters, affectionately known as the ZhuZhus, and their unexpectedly multi-dimensional personalities. Starting with Pipsqueak, the yellow Zhu, she's the adventurous one of the group, always up for new, exciting experiences. Whether she's trying to corral everyone into playing a game or participating in an extreme sport, she's the most outgoing member of the bunch. She also has the cheeriest disposition and is the most level-headed of the group. And while all the Zoos love Frankie, Pipsqueak's adoration of her borders on obsessive, at one point weirding everyone out by saying since Frankie is so great, everyone on Earth should act like her, which slightly disturbs the friends to her lack of surprise.
What? Too much, Frankie? Yeah, that's fair.
Mr. Squiggles, the orange hamster, is science-obsessed and a wannabe inventor, though his machines always seem to go haywire. He's also the only one with catchphrases, usually ending 1 or 2 sentences per episode with the lines, "Of course, it's never been tested," or "with science." Num Nums is the cautious purple one. She prefers more subdued activities such as knitting, but also has a bit of a wild side that comes out every so often and has the most volatile temper of the bunch. Chunk, who has the gray fur, has the biggest and most varied aspects to his character. He's a bottomless pit when it comes to food, but not all that quick on the uptake when it comes to things going on around him, unless it has to do with his own looks, believing he is stunningly handsome, and is also obsessed with style and fashion. This combination of unexpected traits easily make him the biggest comic relief. And Frankie is their human owner, a thoughtful, joyful girl that looks to have fun any chance she gets. Some viewers may know this character as Polly, and if that's the case, you're not mistaken. She originally was known as Polly, but her name was changed through the series run. Personally, I watched the version of the show where her name was always Frankie, so we'll call her that going forward. She's extremely high energy, literally bouncing off the walls at times. She's also an athlete, a hardworking student, a fangirl, and more. But best of all, she's a positive representation of a kid character. She has her core interests, but routinely engages in activities outside her typical wheelhouse. One episode she'll explore a newfound desire to be an author, or dance in the school talent show, or follow in her parents' footsteps of becoming a plumber. Whatever interest she chooses to pursue, it's because she's curious about it, and gives off a real feeling of authentic childlike discovery. In some cases she achieves her goals, in others she falls short, but she perfectly exhibits the unique quality that is one of the 2 secret sauces that make this series work as well as it does. The first, which extends to every character in the ZhuZhus, is the constant, unbridled positivity, which you would assume would make the show unchallenging, everybody smiling and getting along all the time. There are still problems that the group faces, but instead of utilizing sneaky underhandedness or trying to get one up on each other, the Zoos, Frankie, and everyone beyond wants the best for each other. It's actually quite intriguing to see the way a writing team can build a story where challenges are present, but instead of crawling over each other, the characters always actively work together to overcome tasks. One of my favorite episodes has Frankie wanting to play superheroes, so she dons the costume of her alter ego, Supergirl, with her trusty sidekick, Pipsqueak, in her own sidekick getup, as Turbo McCuddles, wearing the most lovable pink cowpoke wardrobe, and that hero name is hilarious. Turbo McCuddles is basically the name version of Puppy Dog Eyes. It will make you audibly go aw when you first hear it. In a previous episode, the remaining Zoos adopted supervillain personalities to try and defeat Supergirl and Turbo McCuddles. But in this instance, they want to be heroes too. And when they begin to argue over it, Frankie plans to bring them together by acting as captured Supergirl and a villainous pirate, encouraging the Zoos to work together to save her. It's such a clever device to make everyone feel included and good about themselves without having to go outside their circle. And even though there is a lot of failure when trying to work together as a team, it makes it all the more rewarding when Frankie's hard work in pushing them towards working together comes to fruition and they all celebrate their achievement. Even when they're doing something as simple as trying to come up with ideas and someone throws out one that's not the greatest, They put it in the maybe pile, which is really sweet. I like that there's never a put down or discouraging word in sight. It really is a different way from how problems are usually solved in similar shows. That being where one character's actions have a negative effect on someone else, they try to fix it in hiding, and apologize and make up at the end of the episode. Here, when somebody is slighted, the tone is so pure that you know it's never on purpose. Even if it's an internal struggle, dealing with shame, self-doubt, or fear, the others will work together tirelessly to see them through to a happy resolution. It's a rare friendship that feels as real as it is endearing, and is the kind of camaraderie you'd hope to have in your life. In the 26 episodes and 52 11-minute segments that make up the show, there's a good balance of both character-driven stories and wackier adventures. Stories range from developing a fear of spiders from walking into a web and having to apologize to the Spider Queen, to helping Frankie stay up for New Year's Eve. In the end, it's the series' greatest strength that makes this show so special, which is, it is an incredibly funny show. The amount of times I was caught off guard by something totally unexpected, or had a good laugh at something I didn't see coming, was a very pleasant surprise. I can't even begin to count the number of times I was ear to ear waiting to see some silly thing they'd say next. The comedic timing here is off the charts, and some lines are simply amusing for how ridiculous they are. Like when Chunk proclaims,
"Well, make it quick. I'm getting bored. And when I get bored, I get dangerous."
or when Frankie, acting as the pirate villain, threatens the ZhuZhus, "Prepare to be skewered," and Chunk responds,
Prepare yourself to be skewered.
How do you prepare for that?
In one episode, when Frankie is in the backyard, she calls for her mom who's in the kitchen. When the ZhuZhus inform her she's actually in the shower, Frankie acknowledges them, then just yells louder. My favorite episodes are undoubtedly the superhero ones, when Frankie puts on a costume and becomes the hero Supergirl, and Pipsqueak plays her sidekick Turbo McCuddles. It's an occasional storyline that comes back in the most fun ways. In the first of these episodes, the other ZhuZhus take on the personas of supervillains to battle with Supergirl. Num Nums is Arachnums in a tiny spider costume, which is too precious, and claims that she has entrapped stuffed animals in her giant web, which is actually just the rope net on her playground set. They don't cut to any imaginary flashback where she's actually a hero. Everything stays in reality with them acting out their story, and their commitment to the game makes it so endearing to see in real life. The standout of these episodes in particular is Mr. Squiggles. He gets really into being the evil scientist character, Dr. Thermostat, complete with a spinning chair and fake cat companion to pet. His evil plan is to change the temperature in the house to snowy conditions, and I already like hearing how he talks normally with his accent, but with this evil twist on his voice, he's as fun to watch as he is to listen to.
Behold, it is I, Dr. Thermostat. I alone control the weather in this house.
The next time they revisit Supergirl, all the ZhuZhus want to be sidekicks, and Mr. Squiggles puts on giant glasses to introduce his new alter ego, Eyewear Mishap Man, with the greatest origin story ever. I was in my laboratory building a laser pointer when I was struck by lightning, and a radioactive bird pecked me. Then I accidentally cleaned my glasses with magic potion. This incredibly normal series of events changed me, and now my eyes shoot lasers. Also, I can cook a whole turkey in 20 minutes. These 5 characters on their own could easily carry the show. There's also a few other characters that pop up from time to time. The side characters who appear most are Frankie's parents. They're both plumbers, oddly enough, and do fall into the embarrassing mom and dad stereotypes. And while that doesn't lend to surprising you on how they'll act in any given situation, they are separated by characters like themselves by their unwavering love for their daughter, in the form of giving her endless encouragement to be herself, and also explore everything life has to offer. But they also aren't afraid to parent her when the time necessitates. Sometimes in comical ways, where they do a classic switch, where Frankie has to be the adult of the house and make the rules, or in a more conventional fashion, where she breaks her skateboard, then asks for a new one, but they won't buy her one until she proves she can be more careful with her belongings. It's nice to see that despite how goofy they aren't just wacky or nagging, they actually care about her. There's Frankie's best friends, the Gelato twins, who are identical in every single way, and anytime all three of them get together, they can't help but emit a high-pitched schoolgirl scream. Despite all the positivity, there's actually a few ne'er-do-wells to be had. Frankie's enemy Madge, the rich, spoiled girl next door, can't stand the five. She loathes them for being so happy all the time, so she lies, cheats, and deceives to get the one-up on Frankie any chance she can. Even the ZhuZhus have a foe of their own in the school janitor, who hates them for being a menace to his cleaning duties, kicking them out of the school anytime they try to tag along with Frankie. Even when they try to help him clean or do something nice for him, they just make things worse, totally warranting his disdain for them. It's a good stable of characters waiting in the wings, and you know if any of these people show up, it'll be a good episode. Finding something to dislike about the ZhuZhus isn't an easy task, and the qualms I had with it were more complimentary than anything else. First, I wish there were more original songs. Seeing the ZhuZhus introduce themselves and try to convince the janitor to be their friend through song purposefully plays up the corniness angle, and the payoff is great. After hearing Dreams O'Clock,
What time is it? It's 3 o'clock. Every little tick, every little talk. Don't you ever let that dreaming stop.
which I have to admit to listening to on a loop since I first heard it, or any of the few tunes they came up with, I wish they would have one song per episode. Maybe it's a bit much, but the songs are so short and extremely listenable. Second, and I never thought I'd say this, but I wish there were more lessons to wrap up the episodes. I'd love for the series to have done this more, but I get that at some point, there aren't enough lessons to teach kids before they end up becoming parodies of themselves. So I'm content with what they did. It's always a good sign when you're trying to decide which episodes of a show you'd recommend to people because of how many good ones there are. I opted to go with the episode that includes two of my favorite segments, which would be episode 7. The first segment is Furvivor, where the hamsters compete in the Iron Hamster Games. Here, Num Nums is nervous for the potentially dangerous activities they're about to embark on, but everyone pushes and encourages her along, and she actually ends up having a great time. The inventive ways they participate in each event, Pipsqueak and Chunk using magnets to scale the refrigerator, while Mr. Squiggles tries to beat them using a bubblegum bubble. The entire gang is competitive, yet supportive of Num Num's apprehension, and it's another feel-good story. Quick side note, there is a cat in the episode, and for some reason, all cats in this world wear what seem to be pearl necklaces. As a matter of fact, all the animals are extremely cute, but all have something a bit strange to them. The cats all wear pearl necklaces and have bean-shaped bodies. The dog and baby bird's eyes are so doe-eyed and their little faces are beyond pinchable. And we also have the second segment in the episode, Supergirl. Frankie wants to be a superhero, so she takes on the role of Supergirl, with her sidekick Turbo McCuddles, as they battle the other hamsters dressed as villains. All the hamsters' new identities are zanier than the last. The spider-themed Arachnum's spider outfit is comical, as much as Count Chunkula's vampiric ways, but only when it comes to chocolate and popsicles, and Dr. Thermostat is the cherry on top. For fast-paced comedic gold and back-to-back segments, this is your best bet. Watching the ZhuZhus has made me grateful and regretful. I'm grateful that I discovered a cartoon that's both engaging and truly funny, and one I would genuinely recommend for kids and adults alike. It's bright and colorful, both visually and tonally, and is one of the few shows I've seen that can manage to be positive without being hokey. My one regret is that I let my own bias get in the way of me discovering this show earlier. Everyone has a barrier for entry for any show they attempt to watch. It could be the art style, or creative team behind it, or even just the subject matter. That's not to say you should watch every show to ever exist, but it may behoove you to look past certain factors that might muddy your enthusiasm. You'll never truly know how a show will actually be without watching it. So next time you encounter something you may normally skip past, watch the first 5 minutes of it. It could be the difference between something you'd never watch and something you'll never forget.